Hi, this is Betty plus books, and this is the Booktube Newbie Tag. I tried to film this video with a makeshift tripod because my tripod isn't going to be here for over a week, and I don't want to wait that long. So we're doing the hand tripod. It's gonna be great. It'll be fine. Question 1 of the Booktube Newbie Tag. Why did you start this channel? I've been watching Booktube for a long time, and I've always thought when watching videos, I'd like to do that tag, or I'd like to do a monthly TBR, and I've always enjoyed kind of journaling about those things, but I think it might be more fun to share my thoughts rather than just having them in a journal. And I just love that this community is so collaborative and is so interactive. Question 2, what are some fun and unique things that you bring to Booktube? So I am a fairly amateur painter, and one thing that I really like to start doing with books is when I read a book and when I review a book, to pay attention and look for scenes that have like really good imagery to paint a bookmark inspired by that passage or inspired by the book as a whole. I like the idea that when we read, we all have different pictures in our head based on what we've read, even though it's described the same way to each of us. So I think it'd be really interesting to paint what I see in my head and how I envision that and share it with other people, and maybe encourage other people to do the same thing. I'd love to do those kinds of challenges, just kind of an art reading combo challenge. Question 3, what are you most excited about for this channel? I'm actually really excited about doing some of the reading challenges that I've been kind of following along with for years and doing just on my own, but like actually making videos about them. So I watched a video on the magical readathon Aurelium 2021, which just seemed so much fun and so exciting, and I'm like, oh no, it's already some number of days into September, and this is supposed to be a September challenge, and I'm late. But I'm really excited to do things like that. I'm really excited to do Dewey's 24-hour readathon and actually like record what I've read and share my experiences rather than just kind of doing it on my own and writing in my journal and not interacting with the community. So I'm so excited to do those kind of like events. Question 4, why do you love reading? Oh, there's a kitten. Also, one excellent thing about reading is if I sit and read for long enough, a kitten will eventually come and decide I'm worthy of being snuggled with. So this is one of those kittens. Hello. But the other reason is that authors have such broad and varied experiences that there's two sides of this. One is that you can find an author and find a book that just really hits close to home and you feel like that person understands you. And then there's the flip side where you have people who have imagined or had experiences that are so different from yours that you can broaden your understanding of the world, and also that's a great chance to escape. One thing I really like is that blend of things that feel familiar, feel like home, but also have elements that are totally unfamiliar to give you like a combination of the sense of familiarity plus the escapism you sometimes need from your everyday life. Question 5, which book or series got you into reading? This relates to the answer to my last question, because this series really gave me that blend of familiarity plus fantastical elements. So this was the Protector of the Small series by Tamara Pierce. The first book is called First Test, and it's about this girl who is the first girl to openly train for knighthood in this kingdom. So she has to undergo all these challenges of trying to prove that she's just as good as everyone else. Question 6, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I'm really interested in how booktubers decide what to read and how they decide specifically what not to read. I know on Booktube a lot of things will often get really hyped up and a lot of people will be reading the same things and raving about it. So there might be books that have a lot of hype around them that I'm just not going to want to read, or I'm not going to want to finish. So how do you decide whether to read a book that's really hyped and that might bring a lot of traffic to your channel, or do you decide just not to read that if it's not something that appeals to you? Question 7, what challenges when starting a Booktube channel do you think will be the hardest to overcome? I think for me it's really going to be perfectionism at first. I'm not used to talking to a camera, so I'm not going to be good at it at first. right now I don't have a tripod yet, but I wanted to record a video today, so this video is shaking, especially as my hand gets more tired, and that's going to drive me nuts, and I'm gonna have to listen to the sound of my own voice as I edit this, and I'm gonna be thinking about how does my face look and how does my hair look, and do I sound okay, and am I coherent, and just the perfectionism is going to be really hard to get over, especially as I'm in a stage where I'm not really good at any of this yet. This camera is so... Are we recording again? Okay. Yeah, so the perfectionism is going to be difficult to overcome, and to just let go of what isn't perfect and just put it out there and let it happen even if it's bad. Because having a video out there, I think, is better than just putting it off forever. Oh my god, the shaking. Look at the shaking, it's so bad. Okay, that's okay, it's fine. Question 8. When did you start reading? I started reading on my own basically as soon as I was able to physically read. And I would just enjoy going to the library, picking out a book. It was usually fantasy, something to do with fairies or dragons or something fantastical. And then I read pretty consistently throughout high school. I was a big reader. I got into a bit of a slump in college. I was still reading, but of course it was like textbooks and schoolwork and assigned reading and things like that, and a lot less of the things that I enjoyed. But then when I got out of school, that's when I kind of encountered Booktube, and that encouraged me to read for fun again more. And now I read quite a bit. Question 9. Where do you read? I think this is a weird question. I think the better question is, where do I not read? Because I read in this chair, I read on that couch, I read in the kitchen, I read in the bath, I read when I'm waiting for a doctor's appointment. I don't read in the car as a passenger or as a driver, obviously, but mostly as a passenger because I get car sick, but I do listen to audiobooks when I'm driving. But I read basically everywhere where I can safely read and hold a book. Everywhere. I read everywhere. Number 10, what kinds of books do you like to read? My main genres are probably fantasy and science fiction. I tend to really like books that are a little dark. I can't remember the last book I read where someone didn't get murdered or had other very bad things happen to them. I don't know what that says about me. I like stuff that's like a little bit intellectual, or like a little bit challenging, but there's a point that's like too far for me on the challenging scale. I tried to read the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, and I don't know if I'm just not smart enough or if I was like in a bad headspace or life space to try and read that, but I swear I don't remember anything from that series. But I also enjoy things like mysteries and thrillers and the occasional contemporary and the occasional self-help book. I'm usually not very big into like realistic historical fiction, and I'm usually not big into romance. A couple exceptions. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. That's all the questions for the Booktube Newbie Tag. I'll be making another video soon because I have a list of so many videos that I want to make. We'll just have to see how quickly I can get them filmed and edited, and if I can find something to serve as a tripod so that you don't have to deal with the shaking in the next video. Okay, I'm gonna go before my arm falls asleep. Goodbye.